Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us again on the Going On Daily Live Morning Show. Yeah, I am Ira, and I
Woohoo.
am pleased as punch. Yes, I'm going back quite a few decades. Pleased as punch to be working with Lena Williams.
You know what, Ira? I'm so
Yes.
happy to see you. It's Saturday again, so that's a really cool thing.
Yay!
I am pleased as punch myself. I think that's something that my grandmother's sister used to say all the time.
I don't think I've ever said that in my life, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it just clicked. You'll get like I have a friend who will constantly do that's the bee's knees. And I'll be like,
That's the
okay,
cat's pajamas. That's
there
what
you
that is.
go. I think one day we have to do a segment now of all that stuff that
Yeah.
we're sick of Riz and other things that we don't know what they mean.
Like what? Well, for Gen X, what we used to say in the 80s, which probably sounds so weird right now, but was just the way we talked back then. Uh,
Oh, absolutely.
with our tubulars and our freshes and our, all that kind of stuff that we used to say. It was
Well,
kind
we
of cool.
made fun. We made fun of the Californians for doing that. I don't think. I mean, on the East Coast, where both of us are, I don't think we were walking around going gnarly man, unless we were making fun of somebody.
Maybe. I don't know. You know, it's funny. I know because I watch so many 80s movies and I still own so many that like it's all blurred, right? So probably I think we talked like a whole different way than we did just because of the old movies I watch. But anyway,
Well,
I know we
everybody
said
does.
totally all the time. Totally. We
Totally.
did say that. We did.
This show is going to be totally awesome today, so we're so glad that you tuned
Like,
in.
oh my God.
Yeah, all you have to do is go watch Clueless, and then you're like in as if.
Yes, because it's funny because they got that. I mean, when you look at that, probably Amy Heckerling, because I think she did do Valley Girl. I believe she did that movie,
Yep, I
and
think
so
she
it's her
did.
own dialect that she brought all the way to Clueless, which is typically almost like what 10 years later. Because I think Valley Girl was like 82 or 83
With
or
Nick
something like
Cage,
that,
yeah.
and Clueless was 96. So anyway, I think Amy took her own what have you and brought it into the 90s with all that
And why
stuff.
not?
Yeah, yeah.
And Ron's going, are you going to do the
I
plugs?
know,
It's
I
the
know.
beginning of the show. I'm
So it's
sorry.
so it's Saturday. I'm in Rhode Island, and we still think there's a serial killer, but we're still being told no. So that's what's happening. What else is
Yep.
happening?
Oh, Fast Times at Ridgemont
Watching the
High.
Diddy trial. That's a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be so many celebrities that you guys out there think you know that you're going to have to cross off your list
Oh, God.
from this trial. Anyway.
And I just heard there was
Hmm.
somebody advertising. He now has a business going on with we could do an entire show with no topics right now.
I
I
know.
swear.
Listen,
But
I totally get it.
there is a guy who now has a business where
Yeah.
he is charging people. I will stand in line for you all night, so you will get a spot in the court, and it
Oh
costs
yeah.
$25 an hour, and
Yep.
you just show up at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be there all night. And the
Of
guy,
course.
cashes a couple $100. So he says his business is thriving because of
I bet.
the
I bet
Diddy
it is.
trial.
It's so crazy what
Oh,
people can like monetize when you think about it. So that's
yep.
interesting. But
Like
anyway,
us, we're trying to monetize this, and how do we do this? By social media. See, now
yeah.
if you're on
What a segue!
Facebook,
What a segue
thank
that
you.
was.
I like segues. I've never ridden one, but I'm good at them on the radio.
I've written several. Anyway,
Aw, see, it makes
yeah.
me sad now that I haven't. Back to social media, as Ron has it up on the screen if you're watching. If you go to Facebook, it's Facebook at RI Broadcasting. If you're on Twitch, it is at RI underscore broadcasting. For YouTube, it's at, spell it out now, Rhode Island Broadcasting. We're even on TikTok. Don't forget that. It's TikTok at RI Broadcasting. And our favorite one, of course, is Patreon because you can buy merch to support the show. You can get pens and stickers and mugs, and it's great. You can show it off. But what we really want you to do is share. If you went, you should see the show. There's Lena and Ira and Becky and Kenny and Ron and anybody else I'm forgetting right now because I don't have a list with me, and Martin and Tony and all the Mouseketeers, and we all need, a little support. So if you could share and like and buy and give us stars, we'd love it. So I know
Absolutely.
we've taken up 10 minutes talking about other things. And I almost went into the new bone that they found from the serial killer, but we should move on from that right now.
Look, they found a bone in Westerly. That's it. That's it. That's our summary.
There
Go
we
look
go.
it up. Go look it up.
Hi, Becky. Good morning, friends. I
Good
got
morning
normal
to
reception.
Becky.
Becky's camping and still watching. So there you go.
That's so cool.
That's commitment.
It is.
Today is Saturday, May 17th, and here's what we want you to know today. And Lena, you have the first story.
I do. So, me and my little weird YouTube things that I watch. And I saw one that I thought was interesting, and it's 13 restaurants that are headed into obscurity.
Ooh.
So I'm doing a list today. I'm doing 2 lists today.
Ooh.
So I know Ron would be proud. So here's what I want you to do. If you're wherever you're from in the country, where you have restaurants around you, let us know if you can in the comments or whatever that you've seen these restaurants. They're there. They're closed. Whatever. Because where I live, some of these are gone, and I think there's still some in the country. So the first one is Applebee's. Now, Applebee's, actually, I used to love Applebee's as a kid, but there's reasons for this. So I'm going to list off the restaurant, and then I'm going to list off the reasons why they think this restaurant is going bye-bye. You can agree, disagree. They're saying Applebee's is too expensive. And right now we're sitting in a place where economy-wise, a lot of people are just cutting out stuff that doesn't work. But also, even before that, they were more expensive than they had been in the past or compared to competitors. No, their food's not fresh.
No,
this is what
not
people
by
are saying,
means, no.
Right? Yeah, and I kind of agree with that. Also, it's an outdated model because right now I believe like a very young audience is looking for different things than that. At one time it was kind of cool to do the whatever it was, high tops and things like that. And their marketing misfires, meaning that they've tried very hard to market and change things in there, and that their advertising just hasn't landed correctly. They've spent a ton of money on it, and it hasn't really brought in any business, or it's hit the demographic in a way where they don't really want what they're advertising. So, do you agree with that?
Didn't they just have that? I know it's a few years ago, and don't come at me for that. But wasn't there a country singer, who actually put Applebee's into one of their songs?
Oh, probably.
And then they put it in as a commercial, and that gave them like a little bump for like.
You know what? I feel like I know, and I'll have to. If somebody knows,
we're gonna have to look down the rabbit hole.
Because I do remember. I think somebody doing that, and I'm trying to remember who it was, and I think he was the latest big country star in the last couple years. And coming from country radio, to be honest with you, I should know about it, but it's still early, so I'm forgetting. But if I think about it, I'll mention it.
In the comments, Becky is agreeing with you. She went to Applebee's a few years ago.
Yeah.
Few meals, appetizers, 2 alcoholic drinks, $200.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think the restaurants, since I was a kid, I don't remember them, or not a kid because Applebee's isn't that old, but I remember it being a lot cheaper for whatever reason. And I think
it was like $9.99 deals, and you get 3 things.
You know what I mean? And I mean, there were just some meal. I mean, I used to love it. That and Bennigan's, that they weren't owned, they were owned by the same company, but I think they were at one point and they split up. They were more. We had one in Boston, and I think there were a few down in Florida. But anyway, Pizza Hut's on the list.
Yeah.
And if you have one in your town, I think I still have one in my town. But I mean, when you think about it, when's the last time you really went there? Like, you see it all the time, but do you ever go in?
No.
Too much expansion and too rapid of an expansion is part of the reason financially that they're having problems. They closed 400 stores so far.
400, geez.
Yep, and nationwide, maybe even outside the country. Competition is killing them, which makes sense. And then they're also an outdated model, meaning if you go out, walk into their stores, and a lot of them are new, they kind of look like they did in 2000 or in the 90s. Right. I haven't been there. I never was a fan of Pizza Hut. I was always a Papa Gino's girl. I will always be a Papa Gino's girl. So, and that's something that if you don't know New England, that's really a kind of a big
That's a New England thing. Yep.
So anyway, and also slow delivery for people who are ordering pizzas at home. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, they had very slow delivery. They couldn't really get that act together on that. So that's them.
I used to like it when you could, like the ones around me, there are 2 around me. And like you said, I haven't been in forever.
Right.
But one of the big things that they had a salad bar. And if you're
Yeah.
like, oh, pizza, I love salad. I
I
don't
do
care how big
too.
I am. I love salad. And now you can't even sit there. It's all to go service.
Yeah. Well, I think
And
they're
so,
trying to
yeah.
get. I guess the franchisee, the corporate, is probably trying to get them to make updates based on like whatever they're seeing is working. Up at the top. So they're probably telling people in franchise at the bottom, hey, get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of this, because they're trying to probably survive because like I guess they're really having a tough time. So
So,
another
so
one is
far, oh,
yep.
I'm sorry. Before you go, so
It's okay.
far, Becky, Ron, yourself, and myself have all said, yeah, Pizza Hut. I know. We
I mean,
don't
when I was a
go.
kid, they had this book reading program. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
did kind of get into that. And that was in, I think, the 80s for me.
Yep.
That would have
Yeah.
been the reason I maybe went. That would probably be the only thing that brought me in there at that time, you know? So the next one is Subway.
They're going away? I thought they were expanding.
And they're not having, they're too
Wow.
many. Well, let me start with this too many locations, too much expansion too rapidly, meaning they're starting
Uh,
to, what happens is Subway all stores, all businesses, if they open
mhm.
too quickly, they'll start competing with their own locations. And so
Right.
Subway's kind of getting into that territory where they can't open without taking business from someone else, you know, on the other side of town. Um, Too much corporate cost. What's happening is a corporate on the top is forcing franchisees to do so much renovation and move things around and change things that they're not able to function without having like profit loss.
Yeah.
And that happens in some places where corporate demands that in order to stay within franchise, you have to do these upgrades, these whatever, and that they're having problems with that. Their food isn't fresh. I mean, when you start
Sorry to
looking at
burst your bubble,
Chipotle
people.
and all these, we kind of know that. I mean, it really is
Yep.
going to be more about convenience, right?
Yep.
And so, also an outdated model, and one of the biggest detractors for Subway even today was Jared. It
Oh
was
God.
Jared. You know, go look up Jared. There's a whole story about that that I won't get into here, but it did take away from a lot of their marketing and business. It killed some of their stuff. Yes, too
They've had
many,
those folks.
as
It was
Becky said.
just the one. I mean, it's one too many,
Yes,
but
one too many. Yeah, exactly. The next one's Buffalo Wild Wings. I have friends that love to go there.
yeah, that's sort of like
Um,
Pizza Hut for me. It's like, oh, I'm glad it's there, but I don't
yeah.
go.
No, I don't actually go, but again, I have friends that are crazy about it and love it. But it's expensive. It's been expensive for the location itself to supply what they serve, and it's also been
Mhm.
expensive on the menu. They've passed a lot of that cost on to the customer, and apparently
Have to.
customers aren't liking it. Their sports bar model is kind of losing traction, meaning people are sort of not. They're just sort of not digging that scene anymore. They're not coming in. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal to people. They're finding other things to do, I guess. They're not. Their booze sales or their alcoholic sales are way down. Like
Really?
they're not selling, and I guess a lot of their
Pardon
profit
me.
comes from their bar sales, and I guess their bar sales are suffering
Well,
for
like you
whatever
said, for
reason.
sports, I don't see anybody going there for a baseball game
Right.
because
That's
that's not the vibe. Not even
right.
really basketball or hockey. It's more of a football Saturday and Sunday. So
Right.
what do you get? 3 months of Saturday and Sunday and you're done?
Right.
Come
And
on.
it's what did this the I was reading an article and they were saying something like if you go in there you're seeing like soap operas playing. It's kind of like not what it should be. Or
I
just
like
things
that.
that are up there that are not sports related that, are kind of and then their wing competition is pretty stark. Apparently a lot of places have wings that are cheaper, better
Hmm.
tasting,
Yep.
easier to get. And so people are just kind of wings are they're supposed to be their specialty, and a lot of
Yeah.
people are finding alternate places that they like better. And
And
so,
Ron says it's not the best place to watch a game either. So
right, okay, and I don't know why, Ron. I've not been. I've really not. I think I may have been there once or twice in when I was living in Atlanta, and that's it. And I really wasn't. I'm not a wing person, so I didn't
oh
even order that stuff. Like I don't. You know, I was in there for friends that wanted wings, and I kind of got some completely different thing. So maybe I didn't find it exciting, but again, I'm not really a sports bar person anyway, so
there
I
you go.
probably TGIF is the next one. TGI Fridays.
Gone. Yeah.
Yep. There was an inflation risk for them, meaning that the economy right now is not sustainable for people and they don't want to go there. They just cut TGI Fridays out if that was what they were doing. Also outdated again. Their marketing misfires. They've tried several deals and marketing schemes that just
Right.
didn't work for them. 20% of those stores closed in the past 3 years.
The one
So
by
far.
me did. Yep.
Did it? Okay. I think.
And
I
again, I
feel
never
like we
went
might
in,
still have
so
one. What'd you say?
I never went in. So.
No, I never did either. There are a couple in my area that I've gone to just because they were like convenient for where I was trying to be to meet people, but I
Right.
really wasn't. Anyway, Red Lobster. If you're in New England, I don't even we have a thing about seafood. We're such snobs up here. So Red Lobster to us is disgusting anyway. We never liked it. Like how could you possibly franchise lobster, like especially in a place that does it so well, right like New England or like places
Maine,
so close to the
New
water.
England.
But their problem was, and if you look up Red Lobster, there's this huge story. I actually went down a rabbit hole on Red Lobster that was amazing. They had such a crazy transference of power so many times where people bought them out. The last company
Really?
that bought them out was a leveraged buyout, and I believe it was some private equity firm that just bought them out to literally take them apart and get rid of them. But their biggest downfall, and you might have
Go
heard
ahead,
this in the
say it.
news, endless shrimp was their biggest
Yep.
downfall because it actually bankrupted them just about.
Sure.
Yeah, people just went in there and went, "Oh yeah, I can have anything I want," and they just went nuts and put these guys in the poorhouse for that. They had to take that off the menu. Now that was a big deal for people. They only went there for that and the biscuits,
Absolutely.
right?
I was going to say that you could buy the biscuits at home.
Yeah.
In the store. So
well, that's why they did that. They actually started marketing them outside the restaurant because people liked them so much they figured they could profit off them, right?
why
So they
not?
started selling them in supermarkets, but they had to take the shrimp off the menu because they were going out of business over that. And then everybody stopped going because that was the only reason they went. So you guys have Red Lobsters. I know Canada has some stuff that we don't have anymore. Like they still
Right.
survive up in Canada. So I don't know. Exactly.
Where are the oceans in Canada?
I know.
Near
I mean,
Alberta, at least.
right. I mean, I can go down right now about 30 minutes, 45 minutes from my house, sit in Point Judith, and anybody who's from Rhode Island knows that. And there's a restaurant called Champlin's, and they're getting a little free plug here. But if you sit in Champlin's, there are boats, lobster boats, and steamer boats right outside the window.
Oh,
And
God.
like they just about hand those things into the restaurant cooks. That's how fresh it is. So it's kind of like Red Lobster never made sense to anybody up here because I'm sure people just went because it was there, but yeah, it's a great restaurant, Champlin's.
Oh,
It's
whenever
amazing.
I visited Boston because I have family up
Yeah.
there, it was, nobody ever said, we're going for lobster. And I never thought we're going to Red Lobster because
Right.
that didn't happen.
I mean, probably the best chain up here that you would really want to go to if you were from New England is Legal Seafood. And because the guy that did Legal Seafood, he actually pulls all the
Oh,
seafood
yeah.
from. Look, and we do have a chain of. I think we even had one at one point in Atlanta. I actually, when I was living down there, I couldn't believe I found one down there, and I was like, "There's a Legal Seafood down here." But yeah, we're so close to the water that it's local. Oh, he got sick there. Whoops. The one in Warwick.
Sorry, Ron.
Tell me, Ron, was it the one in Warwick or was it the one in Boston? Anyway.
It's the one that's closed now.
Right. No, we still do have one. A little Legal Seafood in Cranston over here. Anyway, so and there's one near the airport. But anyway, Red Lobster is that one, and Ruby Tuesday is the next one.
Same model, yeah.
It's the same model, and when I was a kid, I mean, I loved Ruby Tuesdays because it's the stupidest thing ever, but they had a turkey burger that was amazing, and I love turkey burgers. I don't really eat beef. And they somehow did this turkey burger that was like appetizing to eat in a restaurant, which if you like turkey burgers, you know what I mean. Not a lot of people can do them. And they really did such a good job with them that I would go there specifically to eat those. Anyway, they're close to gone at this point. I know ours are out. I know some parts of the country there's one or two, or there's a few around, so you might have one near you. Ruby Tuesdays was expensive, but for what I ate anyway, it was worth it because it was good. It is outdated. 600 of them have gone in the past year. I mean, sorry, 10 years. I'm sorry, not 1 year. That would have been a lot. 10 years. So in the past decade, 600 stores have closed. And again, we haven't seen one here in a long time, so you may have one near you, but apparently they're still out there, like here and there in the country. So their marketing misfires were also a problem. They did a whole lot of marketing and free this and cheap that and deals on this and whatever they were advertising, nobody wanted. It didn't work.
Did not
Or
work.
it worked real quick and stopped. There was one in Fall River. We had one up. I mean, I live near Route 2 in Warwick, and that's where all the stuff is. And we did have one up here, and I think we had one in Attleboro somewhere. So, anyway,
Yeah, as Becky points out, they're all pretty much the same thing, which is what is
Yeah.
it, like fast food comfort dining? You
yeah.
know, sit down.
But it,
That
you know,
just
it was they were
not
trying to
right.
be like a restaurant, but have some kind of conformity. And it was a
Mhm.
little more expensive than McDonald's, but it wasn't as expensive as your local steak place. Whatever.
Right.
And the last thing I wanted to mention on there was they had they actually went bankrupt in 2021 to try to restructure. So they already had one
Oh, did they?
bankruptcy, and that goes out in the news when they do that. And like once people hear bankruptcy, a lot of them don't think the restaurant's open anymore, and that
Mhm.
probably killed whatever was left of their business. They're still around, like I said, but it looks like they're going to be gone very soon. IHOP is the next one.
Yeah, I know.
And IHOP
Oh.
was I don't know, like, again, I live in a place where we have such great little breakfast restaurants
Mhm.
that to go to a chain is almost like counterintuitive for us, I guess.
Even when you were a kid?
Even when I was a kid. Well,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So when I was
Because
a
then it
kid,
was, you knew the name. You know, it was like, we're going to IHOP.
no, you're right. When I was a kid, I actually like they had little like features, little things for a kid that you thought were great, right? So just like
Rudy
McDonald's
Tooty
with the
Fresh and
Happy
Fruity.
Meal.
You know?
Yeah, they had these different flavors of syrup for pancakes and all these
Yes.
things that when you're a kid you think are great, right? But like when you think about it when you get older, you're like, oh, this is like a lot of this is just like going over an assembly line. And a lot of
Oh
it
my
is
God.
and that's fine, I guess. If you're from out of state and you want a restaurant that well, like Golden Corral or someplace where you just the name and you're just like, I know when I
Mhm.
go there, I'm gonna get what I want. That's fine, but like we have again, maybe all of you in every part of this country have these little mom and pop places. Those are the places I like to go to. Those are the best food. They're cheap. There's less. It's not that there's nobody there, but for whatever reason, you don't deal with as much standing in lines and all that
Yep.
stuff. It's just and the food's better. It's worth it. I don't know. Anyway,
Wait, before you go, two of those things on the list are trying to combine because the people who own IHOP and the people who
mhm.
own Applebee's have decided that, well, people usually come in for breakfast for IHOP, but for lunch and dinner, it's usually Applebee's and they don't do breakfast. So there are places where you can find IHOP Applebee's now.
Yes, I don't see any of that up here.
I've seen
Uh,
two so far.
wow. And are they close to
Yeah.
like are they like the type of places where when you're traveling and you just like
Yes.
going down 95 and you got
The
those little
roadsides.
roadsides on the
No,
95
they're
or whatever? Is it
actual
like that?
restaurants.
Oh, okay.
They're actual restaurants.
Well,
It's just they changed they I mean the signs are pretty much there.
yep.
It's just the menus pretty much changed.
So it looks to me like they might have done maybe because they had a problem. One of the things that was what closed them was that they tried to do a burger rebrand. They literally tried to compete at one point
I remember
with
IHOB.
burger
Yes.
restaurants, and their people were like, "No, we don't like that." I don't know. They
Yeah.
did. They just turned people off with that. I don't know if people stopped going because of it, but they definitely didn't buy that product. And so they've had a
Well,
lot
I
of
can tell you
2024
that. I'm
closures.
sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that as a kid, I was excited to go, and now when my kid was younger,
Yep.
I would take her because she was excited. But as an adult, it was, I don't like these eggs, but I'm here for the pancakes. You're here for the pancakes, and then when you start going, these pancakes aren't that good.
Yeah, like you're like,
Then
okay, it's just
we're
like
not going.
what's the other one? Oh God, I can't think of the name of
Ron
it.
is
The other chain.
giving a
Denny's.
plug to Shannon's. Oh,
Shannon's.
Denny's is. I'm sorry, people,
So
unless you're
Denny's is
drunk.
the same. It's actually
Yeah,
probably a lower version of IHOP, but it's the same
much
kind of
lower.
idea. And you
Yes.
kind of go in there because it's like open at 3 a.m. or whatever. It's just like
Yep.
convenient, but it's not really somebody we would go if you could go somewhere else, right?
Yep.
The only other thing I want to mention about IHOP is egg prices. For a really long time, we had an issue with eggs, and most recently,
Oh yeah.
egg prices have been putting them through the ringer.
Yeah.
It looks like
Have
it might be
charged more.
leveling it off, but that was a big deal for them anyway, because that's what they do. Boston Market's the next one.
Gone by me too. Yeah.
Yep, ours is gone. I think most of them are gone, but I mention it because I think there's some left in the country somewhere, and
Oh, jeez.
it's nearly gone. What happened with them was rotisserie chickens were great, but then markets started just putting them in. Markets were like,
Yeah.
they started stocking them. As soon as markets started doing that, Boston Market was like no big deal anymore to anybody. They were really
Absolutely.
good while they lasted, but that was their kind of their niche, right? And as soon as markets took it from them, that was the only thing that was any good for them, and that was it. So that's why they closed. Also, they had employee lawsuits, some labor issues that went on within their
Really?
place. Now I don't know the whole. I just grabbed it really quick as a summary,
Okay.
but there were some lawsuits for things that went on, whether it was customers suing for something or employees suing for something that they didn't like that was going on from their bosses or whatever. But that kind of stuff happened, so that causes some optic issues for the place.
Right.
But 15% closed in 2024, and again, I don't have any near me, so if
Gone.
you have any near you, it's probably not going to be there much longer. Chuck E. Cheese is another one. Ours, we still
Chuck
have
E.
ours.
Cheese? How
Yes.
could that be closing?
Chuck E. Cheese, I'm surprised. They've been through a couple of things, and I'm surprised the one near me is even still there. So it started with, real quick, Discovery Zone. That's kind of where all this stuff started,
Yep.
right? And Chuck E. Cheese got their idea, and so did McDonald's from whatever the heck they had a brand
Play
too.
places. Yeah.
Kids were going in and jumping around in little ball pits and whatever. So anyway, Chuck E. Cheese kind of took their idea from Discovery Zone, but anyway, they had a bankruptcy in 2020. That's why I'm surprised that their stores. I guess I thought just like anybody else that they closed, but apparently they restructured.
No.
And so, but they're saying that kids these days are kind of no longer into that model for whatever reason. Kids just don't find that interesting. Like I guess Sky Zone was kind of a big deal for a while, and maybe that was more what they wanted to do.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, kids didn't find Chuck E. Cheese to be somewhere they wanted to be, and the
Yeah.
parents won't take them if they don't want to go. Right?
Of
They
course
also
not.
had overpriced and mediocre food. I mean, if you're a parent, you take your kids there. The food's nothing to write home about at all, right?
Well, I have heard. I mean,
Mhm.
I hated it, but I haven't been in, 15 years or something.
Right.
But I have heard from friends of mine who have younger kids that they up their game with their pizza, and that
Okay.
it actually tastes like pizza now. I can't verify it, but
For a very long time, it didn't. You know,
it was
like
cardboard.
yeah, it was. I guess they just did whatever they could get at like a mass price or whatever they could get for
Right.
just to keep people happy, because they figure the kids didn't care, right? They were too young to know if it was any good. But the parents, and I learned this from watching the Discovery Zone documentary. Believe it or not, there is one where parents actually, like when you're a parent now, it's different. But when we were kids, when parents would take you to places like this, they had to like occupy themselves. Think about this for like
Yes.
hours and hour. Like there wasn't any cell phones to flip through. Like there wasn't anything they could do. They could just sit there and talk to each other, unless you brought a book
And
with
who
you,
wants
unless you're a
that?
reader. I know, well, that's true, and that's what they did back then. But think about like how many hours you had to kill to just be like, all right, well, my kids are having a great time. They're gonna be tired later, but like, what do I do for 3 hours, right?
Yep.
Anyway, that's what happened there. So I guess also there were cleanliness issues that were going on there.
Dirty kids running around. Yeah.
Right. So what they, for whatever reason, weren't able to keep this place as hypoallergenic or as clean as they should have because of all the kids coming through, which is understandable, right? That it would be hard to keep. I don't know what company you called to get that done, but they weren't doing it. Okay. Moving on. Outback.
Again, I don't go, but I'm glad it's there. You know,
ours is gone. We don't have them anymore here.
Oh no.
Yeah, ours, we had 2, and I think they're both gone now. So I guess they keep them in whatever markets they're doing the best, but the ones that weren't, they got rid of. So anyway, beef prices, I guess, are driving them bananas. They're having a hard time supplying that.
I can see that.
Their menu prices, they're passing on whatever they can to the customer as far as their inflation's going. They're slow dynamic. I guess it's just outdated for people. They don't just like that slow laid back, whatever it is. I guess people don't really. People are in a hurry to get their food, and they don't really like it there because it's a little more laid back than they'd like, which is true. When you go there or Longhorn or someplace like that, I mean, you're there for the night, not for the night, but I mean, you don't expect to get it quickly. You want to relax, whatever. I guess people don't do that anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
Lack of marketing. I guess they just haven't done marketing at all. Like they just haven't marketed as much as they
Oh,
should have. At
no,
least
I don't think. Well, at least on TV and radio, I hear ads for them all the time.
okay. So I guess whatever markets
I
they
don't pay
were in,
attention, but
right? Apparently, they've not done enough. Like that pumpernickel bread was the best, and
they're
of
blooming
course, I was
onions.
a bloomin' onion girl. Yes, I loved it. So I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe they weren't doing enough. They do enough with where you are, but maybe in other parts of the country they just didn't spend enough
Possibly.
budget. And in 2024, 50 stores closed. So just to let you know, it's possible some of these guys could bounce back if they close enough stores or that they even out,
Sure.
but that's not looking good.
Close down and
Sbarro. Does
start
anybody
over.
remember Sbarro?
Wait, they're gone? Are they? Wow. Yeah.
So they kind of are going, and do you know why? I mean, it's obvious.
Their prices were outrageous.
Well, that's one of the reasons, but they were structured in malls, most of them,
Yes.
and so their
And
business
malls are going
didn't
away.
survive because malls are all closing.
Yep.
And
There you
even when
go.
with the malls that are open, there aren't a lot of people food courting anymore for whatever reason. So they're not
Yeah.
doing good, and they can't do anything if the mall around them is shutting down. They can't do anything. I guess they tried to open standalone stores, but they're not profiting. Because think about it,
No.
you would only go to Sparrow if you're walking by it to do something else, right?
Exactly.
So to drive to it, I guess, isn't working.
Yeah.
Much like
Nobody's ever said, "I need Sparrow right now for dinner."
right, like no, probably never at all. I used to love it in a mall myself, but when you think about it, like I would never go searching for one, right?
Nope.
Uh, so they're closing their stores slowly, and
Becky loves the blooming onion.
I do too. I love that blooming onion. And so the competition, I guess, for whatever Sbarro's, serving is pretty. It's heated. I mean, they obviously have
Yeah.
several places that you could go that you would get better and cheaper. And so, also they had rent issues because wherever they do whatever they do anchor their stores, for whatever reason, their rents are going through the roof, and they're having a hard time keeping up with just their mortgages in places for whatever reason. I don't know. That's what they're saying.
Well,
Paying their
according to
rent.
Becky, apparently they have to go to Canada because there are sparrows and their malls and food
Of
court
course,
are
they're
back.
like
So.
they have everything we don't have anymore. So the last thing I'm gonna supply cost was another thing. All the stuff that they were supplying was costing them a lot of money, and also was giving them a profit problem. And the last one is Hard Rock Cafe, which is probably easy to figure.
Oh, I thought they were all gone. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess there's a couple here and there in the country, but Gen Z wasn't interested in decor and the menu, which of course is more of an 80s or 90s thing.
Yeah.
And then the rent costs on the properties that they occupied were like money pits. When you think about where these Hard Rocks were,
Oh my God.
Rodeo
Times
Drive
Square.
and
Yep.
whatever that stupid street is in Vegas that I can't think of right now, where everything else is.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
The
they
strip.
had these
Just the
huge
strip.
stores, right? Fort
Yep.
Lauderdale, and I mean that they couldn't. I don't know. They might be building one. That's probably the only place, honestly, Ron, that it would work.
Probably. I agree.
You know what I mean? That's probably, or maybe Atlantic City had one at one time, because that's the type of business that they are. I mean, obviously, nothing in Atlantic City is working now. Anyway, those
there
are
we go. Becky was just there. So there's one
okay.
being built in Vegas.
And the one in Vegas, maybe it's making up for the ones that all the other ones that are closing, because for where the Mirage was. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, but it's probably the only place you're going to see it, unless you're like in LA. I think maybe if in Los Angeles, maybe the only other place I can think of. But everywhere else, their franchises haven't been working, and they've been way too expensive
Hard Rock,
to keep.
Planet Hollywood, Fashion Cafe. There was a space one. I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
They came in and they just couldn't sustain the business.
Planet Hollywood to me was competition, because they saw Hard Rock and what they were doing, and they were like, we can do that. And I think they were based out of Florida, but they were. No, I'm sorry, they were based out of LA. Anyway, those are my 13. I'm done.
I was waiting for two that you didn't mention, actually.
Who were you waiting for?
I was waiting for Hooters, who just declared bankruptcy.
Okay, this list might have been because there's not enough back financial industry information maybe for Hooters, that they didn't get that on the list, but it should be.
And the one fast food that I will
Hmm.
say I go once a year only, White Castle. Do you have White Castles up there?
We don't. We
The
don't have
little
a lot of
square
those here.
burgers? Oh
Yep,
my
we
God.
don't have a lot of those here. We just I thought we were supposed to be getting one, but I guess if they're having problems, I don't know. You see that they're having
I saw
problems?
that they closed down a few, but there are still like the ones that
Okay.
are open have lines. The ones that are closed, obviously, I guess
Okay.
didn't.
I thought we were going to get one, so I thought they were doing well because I heard we had one in the works. But anyway.
I really want to keep going with this topic, but I know Ron's probably going, move on already.
I know.
Because you kept saying the same thing. The business model didn't work. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering, well, what's the new business model that would work? What do people want? But maybe we'll discuss that at a later time.
Well, somebody in the comments, if they know, like, if they have an idea what something
Oh,
might, what people are into now.
yeah. What
Becky
restaurant is like, oh, I got to go there?
Becky made
They're
a comment
amazing.
earlier about like everything people kind of going back to local and trying to do things that are, and I don't know if that's true or not because I'm not Gen Z, I'm Gen X, so I have no clue. I'm very out of touch with
Yeah.
that. So if somebody knows that knows Gen Z what they like, tell us.
Let us know. I know
Oh,
something that we all know about and we
okay.
all kind of laugh about, which is stupid criminals. Makes us feel better about ourselves that these people can't do these
Yes.
things. And I got two stories here.
Yep.
One is, ironically, both from Florida. Hey, makes us feel better about ourselves that we're not in Florida.
They're
Sorry if
always
you
in
are.
Florida. Is it me? Is it like always Florida?
Oh
It
yeah.
feels like it.
Get a cheap plug for my my podcast, the Circling the Drain podcast. We do a bit called Sunshine State or Other Place, where I will read a crime, and you have to tell me did it take place in this little state called Florida or anywhere in the entire world? And more
Uh,
than half of them are Florida, unfortunately.
I mean,
So
I could only guess if it had an alligator in it. I'd be like, oh, that's Florida. I know that is. Or maybe
that's why I
not.
stay away from those.
Oh, yep, that makes sense.
But the first one from Florida is Miss Angela Velasquez. I want to get this right. Taborda. Taborda. She was in a Walmart and she was stopped by security exiting with $122 worth of goods. She was shoplifting shampoo, socks, shorts, that kind of thing.
Okay.
She came in with a plastic bag, filled it up, left. They caught her, and you're thinking, okay, that happens all the time. When they asked her, she said, well, they wanted them. And the police asked her, what do you mean they wanted them? She goes, well, I walked in and they told me I had to buy these things, but I didn't have the money. And then they told me, well, then just take them. And
The
the
head
police kept going,
voices.
where's the, well, she identified the other person. The devil actually told her.
Oh, okay. Well, that
And
happens. I mean, you know,
hey,
what are you gonna say? If the devil tells you to do some stuff, then what are you gonna do? You're gonna
I
do it.
agree. I would
I
sit there
mean,
and say, "You have to address. You have you arrested the devil yet?
yes.
Do you have him?"
Oh my god. I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I'm
kind of
not.
sad. But like
If
she
you've seen
said,
any episodes of Cops whatsoever, this should not be surprising to you at all.
"Oh
Oh
my
my
God,
goodness. Yes.
it is." She was brought in for a medical,
Yeah.
check her out a little bit. She was released on jail. Now, obviously, there's something going on. I mean, if she is hearing the
Hmm.
devil's voices, and it could
Right.
go further. I mean, think of what the devil
Do you
could
think
tell
she might
her
have made it up
to
though,
do.
just to kind of seem like she was insane in order to get out of something? You never
It
know.
is Florida. There's bath salts. Too much sunshine on the head. I don't
True,
know.
true, true.
But for all that, she was released from jail on a $150 bond.
Which is more money than she was stealing.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
The judge has ordered her to stay away from Walmart, but he didn't order her to stay away from the devil. So, small
Oh, so
win.
she'll be at Target or something. She'll
That's
be like,
it.
well, I mean, you told me not to go to Walmart, so we went to Target.
I'm at Target, and then we'll find something. Maybe there's a Kmart still open. They can go there.
Oh, well, listen. Kmart's are still open in Australia, of all places.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's another reason to go to Australia.
That they didn't work here at all, but they're like
No.
huge in Australia. I don't know why.
And what
Anyway,
do they have Targets in Australia? We are just going off the rails today.
I
It's
know.
like,
I don't
what's
know.
up?
I'm sure they do.
Okay, my second story. This one was also a little creative in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Christy Turman, she's 37.
Okay.
She called the Lee County Sheriff's Office because she wanted to report that a car was being stolen. Okay, that happens. You're
Okay.
doing the right thing. She was the one stealing the car.
That's
The reason,
awesome.
yeah,
I mean,
she
that's
actually
efficiency.
but she didn't do it like I'm going to stop myself from stealing. That's not what she was thinking.
Right.
She called them and said, "I'm trying to steal this car that is not legally mine. You can come out and file a report, and that will make it legal for me to steal
What? I
it."
don't
If she's
understand.
tattling on herself, apparently the police can write up a report that go, "Well, you stole it, so I guess it's yours now."
Oh, good Lord. Good Lord. Where did she find out this? Where did she get this information from? Christy.
Uh,
Come on now.
I don't know. It's on maybe on the internet. She was having a moral dilemma. Yeah, it's possible. Maybe the devil was telling her yes. She said no.
Oh, yeah, that devil. He's talking to everybody. Jeez.
I believe he lives in Florida, so it's hot enough down there.
Probably. It
Police
is hot.
arrived at the scene
Mhm.
and found Herman getting out of the driver's side of a stolen Toyota Corolla. She explained, "Look, I let you know that I
Mhm.
was doing this, so now that makes it, quote, legal theft." I don't know what legal
What
theft is,
on
but in her
earth?
mind, it made sense.
What in Sam Hill?
We're going back to that now. Sam Hill. I
Yeah.
got to look that up.
Well, that's the
Okay.
devil. Yes.
The devil is now Sam
That is
Hill.
another word for the devil, I think, from years ago.
I seriously have to look that up later
I'm
on.
telling you, I think I thought I read that somewhere, but I gotta look it up too myself because I forget.
Here's the weird thing: police took her into custody. Obviously, she was only charged with trespassing.
I guess that's fair because she didn't drive it off.
So, I mean, is there legal theft then? They were like, "Well, you reported it, and you didn't really." I don't
I mean,
know.
sometimes I honestly believe, and I guess it's fair that a lot of people get away with. I mean, they actually gave the cops information. So the cops didn't have to go looking. They didn't have to deal with a stolen report. Like, it's almost
Yeah.
like she did some work for them, and so it's almost like the more that they don't have to do sometimes, the less for the sentence. I honestly believe that sometimes.
They gave her
Where
a junior deputy badge and said, "Thank you for reporting crime. Here you
right,
go.
because
Maybe she
if
makes
you
some
call in
money."
a false claim, like you get all kinds of fining for that. And
Oh,
they get just
absolutely.
because they went looking for something that wasn't there, they'll get you over that. Like, so I wonder if it's like, how much work did we have to do here? Oh, not really. She just called us herself, and I don't know. Maybe because they know the next time she tries to steal a car, she'll just call them again. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Becky has some Satanism news. In Satanism, they have to put it out there what they're doing. That's what makes it okay to do. Well, yeah, you got to advertise.
That's actually kind of. I think I read that, Becky. Yeah. So that she didn't take the car. She wasn't like driving off in it. She's just in it. So technically, that's like trespassing, I guess, because she didn't.
There you go.
They didn't even have to leave wherever the heck they went and found her, and so I don't know.
So,
Of course, there's
okay,
something to
enough
look
of.
up, right?
And now from stupid things to things that we want to revive. What do you have for us, Lena?
So, I'm
Oh, I'm
calling
sorry.
this.
I have the wrong one.
Do you have the
I
wrong
have
one?
the
It's
wrong
called
bit.
yes. My
I'm sorry.
bit now
Fast
is
food
fast food
movies.
movies. So I didn't want anybody to. I know. Look at this is like probably what I like to. I love to see what Ron conjures for what he thinks I'm gonna say. Kind of, sort of, a little bit adjacent. You we're talking about
Right.
movies, houses, and movie conglomerates, right? You know the story of Blockbuster and Netflix, right? Everybody
Oh,
knows that story,
absolutely. Yep.
and how Netflix ended up where they are now, and how Blockbuster ended up where they are now. Because they have one store in Bend, Oregon, and I'm not even sure if it's still there, right?
No, it closed.
But in the middle of it did close. That's right. But
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was supposed to close or if it was still there or whatever. But in the middle of all this nonsense, there was a company called Redbox,
Oh, yeah.
and they're known for the little red DVD kiosks that you rent out,
Hmm.
right? And they're no longer running. Although their company's still active, they are no longer doing that. So I find the story of Redbox. You did a story on it. Oh, so Ron did a story on this. So should
He
I
did.
still do it? I mean, let's not repeat ourselves on this.
Well, his take on it, because I was on with him,
Yeah.
was they were removing. Well, they went out of business,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't bother to remove the red boxes, so people were going in and just taking all the movies.
That's definitely true. Towards the end, I think they eventually did do that, but they had so many
Yeah,
out there. I think they were trying to figure out what to do with them. But the point of Redbox being a business is that it did not start as a DVD company. It started from McDonald's. Now I don't know if you know that.
wait, what? Okay,
The McDonald's Corporation started Redbox technically, right? So there's this. So at the beginning of this story, you have this. It's like McDonald's Ventures LLC or whatever, and this is in 2002. They wanted to experiment with automated kiosks. They wanted to see if people could buy McDonald's food out of some kind of kiosk machine, right?
okay,
So they got together with this company and they put together something that would be convenient for people to drive up and just buy stuff out of a machine, as opposed to like, hey, we're so great, we want people to be able to just get stuff outside. They were just trying to do some kind of experiment, and it narrowed quickly down. They actually put DVDs in there just to have for people to have something to watch if they wanted to grab a movie while they were getting their food. And what happened was people liked the DVDs, but everything else kind of didn't do so well. So they narrowed it down to the DVDs, and that it was spearheaded by this guy named Greg Kaplan, right? He's an executive
right,
there. He saw a DVD rental model come out of that he thought would work. So they changed over. At one point, McDonald's had two kiosks side by side. You'll probably find pictures of this, where the
okay,
McDonald's kiosk is here, and then the Redbox DVD. It wasn't a Redbox at the time, but their version of like the DVD machine next to that, so that you could just rent your
mixed
movie and
DVD.
get your McDonald's and go home. And I guess the red box, that was what they called it because it was colored red and it was next to the McDonald's thing. So anyway, that's what happened, right? And so
Oh
that
wow,
it took off. So by 2005, it was a big, huge thing, and it started to really compete with Netflix and Blockbuster, which I don't think they expected. But it became very big, and a lot of people were like, "I love this. I could just, they made it so that people could pick it up here and drop it off over there, right? They tried to make
yep,
sure that it was universal.
it was in my
Eventually,
supermarket. Yeah,
they started. They went out of. They were starting to go out of business for one reason or other. I think it was because it was so cheap, and they weren't making the profit that they wanted to make, right? So what they didn't know what to do at I get to that point, and they're floundering around, and then Coinstar came in
oh yeah,
and bought them, and then continued the model
oh
because Coinstar had so many machines in whatever operation or in production for their own stuff that it was easy for them to just kind of use them as a division, right? So they
right.
went ahead and did that. But eventually, Netflix took over everybody, and even Redbox. But Redbox actually lasted the longest because it was so cheap, it was so convenient. And I know people that are still not happy that Redbox is gone because they would much rather, they just liked that model, and they would much rather have it in their hands.
I
Um,
know a few people who are just like that. I collect physical media. I don't need it
yeah.
streaming. I'm like,
I
okay.
mean, and I get it because, like, I mean, as a Gen X person, analog is a big deal to us. Like, there was a point in time, like, think about it. If you buy a movie on Prime or Apple or anything else, even if you buy it,
Hmm.
if you get rid of that service, you lose the movie. You know,
Exactly.
so if you buy a movie and you have a DVD player, which I have three, right? I have
Three.
three DVD. They cost $50 or something for a little
Yeah, it's
Sony,
true.
right? And
I kept my
I have a ton of
VCR just in
DVDs.
case.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like if I lose all my cable services tomorrow and I don't have anything, I could literally pull out a bunch of DVDs and start watching. I'm like, I don't have to worry about the stuff I like is there. And that's, I
Hmm.
don't know whether we just something about Gen X where we just have to know that it's in our house. But anyway, eventually, and Ron probably brought this up, the company that bought them out once they started to like lose ground to Netflix was Chicken for the Soul Entertainment.
Oh my God, I remember them. Yeah,
Yeah,
chicken soup
and
for the soul everywhere.
they also own Crackle,
Oh, so
and so
restaurants.
No,
conglomerate?
Crackle is like I think it's either an app or some type of, it's a media company, I thought.
Yeah. Oh God,
But anyway, and
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
have to
get
look
into
that
what
up.
Crackle was. I just listed it here. But so basically, from 2002, they were with McDonald's. In 2003 is when they got the kiosks to go in. And then the spin-off to Coinstar was in 2005, right? 2007, they
Right.
had a huge, rapid expansion with Coinstar. 2010, the market dominance came in, where there were like so many places that they were formidable competition. And then their peak popularity is in 2012. So over 42,000 kiosks were operating in the US in 2012 at that time.
Wow.
And then they got in, it looks like they did a little short-lived streaming venture with Verizon called Redbox Instant, where Verizon.
Okay. Oh, when it's frozen up. I remember. Oh,
I don't know, but what were
there
you
you
going
go.
to say?
Oh, nothing. You froze for a moment. Oh, you're frozen again. Okay.
Oh, hold
Uh,
on. It says it. It says my connecting, but can you see me
there we
now?
go.
That's
Yeah, now
weird.
you're back.
I'm like,
Now you're
it's
back.
so close to my router. It's ridiculous.
I think
So
Redbox is trying to cover you up there.
they're not happy. They're going to be at my door like, hey, what are you talking about? It says that their market decline was in 27 to 2020, which is fair because that's kind of like when most places that had physical media were
Right.
suffering, when Disney Plus came on and Netflix and all these other places. I think once the pandemic happened, that's when everybody for streaming went nuts because we stopped going to theaters. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, so I guess Redbox is purchased. I don't know. It says that they've ceased operations following the bankruptcy because they had a bankruptcy and liquidation, and that Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment is trying to do some. I don't know what it is. It's like very vague, right? Where they're trying
Yeah.
to do some kind of new thing, which hasn't happened yet. Now that could very well just be BS, and they're not going to do anything.
Well, Ron says
But
the improvement of streaming has made it obsolete. And
yeah,
as you said, being Gen X and still wanting that physical media, I see stories every once in a while about people opening their own mom and pop video stores out of their house because they have
yep,
so many things. So
yep,
there is a niche market, and
it
somebody
is.
is going to take advantage of it one way or another.
And then, here's the
So,
fate of the kiosks. While they remain abandoned, some have found new life. Hobbyist projects, enthusiasts have repurposed kiosks for personal use, transforming
oh
them into
wow,
media centers or unique storage units.
bingo.
Recycling efforts. Companies like the Junk Luggers have undertaken efforts to recycle kiosk materials and donate remaining DVDs to community organizations. So I guess that's what's been happening with those. But 24,000 Redbox kiosks were left.
Twenty-four
On the side of
thousand.
the
Oh
road.
my god.
Like, think about that, in front of Walgreens, in front of Walmart, in front of
Yeah,
grocery stores. So anyway, I think it would cost $500 per unit to remove, and I guess so they don't want to pay for that. But anyway,
I don't
it
blame him.
looks like some of them are getting new life, and that's the end of that story.
Well, there we go. Prioritizing different things take over, things morph, they
Yeah,
adapt.
it's the my theme today is the uh, evolution of
Yeah.
business and life.
And according to Becky, there's a video store near her, so Canada does have everything that we still
Canada
want,
has everything. Ah,
including free healthcare. But
oh my goodness. Yes.
we're going to talk about today. Again, last week we got into a great conversation about relationships
Yeah.
and how things may have adapted there. Well, now I want to talk about parenting in this generation.
Okay.
Because there was a survey of over 2,000 parents of kids aged 0 to 6.
Okay.
And they asked them, what is the priority of what you're teaching your kids? Now, obviously, as we turned out last week, I don't want to read to my kids. It's too boring for me. So things do change
Yeah.
over time. It turns out that the modern parent of young children aren't focused on education. It used to be, what did your parents teach you? Oh, well, we're teaching them reading and we're teaching them writing. Your parents would talk to you and explain things to you.
Yeah.
That's not what is priority now. Priority now is dealing with the mental aspect. It's teaching your children pretty much everything is okay. You have to learn how to cope with disappointment. You have to learn how to accept things. And then maybe we'll concentrate on education and physical ability and all that. So everything
Hmm.
is now about mental health. How do you feel about that?
So I have several opinions about this. I
I knew
guess,
you would.
as I always do, I guess I feel like our generation, a lot of stuff went neglected. However, our parents did not shield us, right?
No, we
So
were tough.
yeah, and you have to have some mental acuity in this, like in your obviously, the best parent they say is a parent that lets you make mistakes and stands by,
Hmm.
and then talks you through stuff, supports you, but like doesn't take it from you, right? I want you to learn how
Absolutely.
to walk. Oops, you fell. Okay, well, this is what happens. Try it again. Try it again. Because like once we leave the house, we have to have some idea how to deal with stuff that doesn't go right, which is pretty common, right? Anyway, so are they I'm trying to figure out what they're saying here. Are they saying that they're trying to teach kids, "Hey, you're gonna be all right." Are they giving them that message like you have to understand that sometimes life isn't gonna go your way? Because that's a
Maybe,
circle back to what we were doing in the generations around when I was a kid. And in
which
that
is
in that sense,
different.
I think
Yeah.
it's actually a good thing.
I think it could be a good thing, but I don't think it should be the number one thing you're
No,
teaching your kid.
but kids
I
definitely
mean,
need it. I mean, they need it.
they
This is like
do.
something missing from children right now where they definitely need. Right.
Go ahead
Ron.
and see what happens. We had a
Right.
different approach. My ex-wife and myself, when we had our
Mhm.
daughter, you go to the local playground, little sandbox,
Mhm.
and we had one agreement. You would watch as, for the first time, she's climbing monkey bars and going down slides and things like that. And I would see parents rush to their kids the second anything happened.
Right.
And if you're freaking out, that freaks out the kid, and then
That's
the kid's
absolutely
going to
true.
cry.
Yep, I
So
agree.
my ex and myself, we would watch, and the first time my daughter fell, we both stayed back.
Mhm.
Let's see what happens. And she sort of had like a confused look on her face,
Mhm.
and then got up and then
Right.
continued playing. I was like, if she were really hurt, she
Right.
would cry and we would go to her. But if she's just confused, what the hell just happened?
Because she's trying to
I
learn
have to
like,
know.
okay, I jump here, I do that. Like she's trying to learn the coordination of it. That makes
Exactly.
total sense. And she has to learn that way. But she'll never learn that twice, right?
And by
If
the way, my daughter is takes after her mother. She is a complete klutz. She would come home and just go, "Yeah, that hit in the face with dodgeball today." I'm like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" And she'd be like, "No, I'm fine. I know how to take these things. I fell downstairs today. Oh my god, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine."
so
I would
that
tell
see
you if I was hurt.
that's awesome to me.
It kind of is.
Our parents, we did learn to get around stuff and do it on our own, but our parents were
Yep,
just like not there to
they
deal with
weren't
it.
there.
They sent us to the playground and left. Like that's what we
Yep.
dealt with, or we went by ourselves over there with all our
Hmm.
friends. So
They deal with it when you come home and you're bleeding already.
I know people make it's a joke in movies and stuff now, but our parents really told us that's fine. You're fine.
Yeah,
Like, we
it
had a
was
couple
fine.
of things in the bathroom from a very young age when I was a kid. I knew whatever it was, whether it was bacitracin, whether it was
Hmm.
what do you call that? The red stuff.
Red
I, f-
stuff. Ooh.
I forget the name of it that you would put on a cut. Oh God, what was the
I
name
was
of it?
thinking Neosporin, but
No, it used to be red in a. I mean, I'm from the late '60s, early '70s, but we had peroxide, we had alcohol,
yeah,
we had things in the closet that I knew where it was, and I would just go do whatever. I would dress my
yep.
own wounds. My mother would be like, "Ah, well, you know where this is. You know where the band-aids are." But like, if I fell and hurt myself, we didn't. Our parents like didn't even react to that. Like they were like, "Yeah," and I think it's because they were. I mean, they were old when they were kids. They really didn't get any
Oh
response. I mean,
yeah,
the greatest generation didn't get. They literally, their parents were like, "Hey, we didn't eat for a while, so this is not a problem." Everything was compared to like the depression, I'm sure, for them.
What was it? Children should be seen and not heard.
Right.
You didn't cause trouble for that generation.
Exactly. So like
Iodine, thank you.
that's it. Iodine. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that in my house as a kid because before we didn't have Neosporin, and we might have had bacitracin, but we didn't have a lot of the stuff that we have now. It was just like a couple of little household items. And peroxide and iodine were the two big ones when I was a kid, right?
Oh yeah.
And Robitussin. I'd laugh about Robitussin because it was like, it's kind of funny, but we did really have a lot of Robitussin in the house. But
I remember that.
so I don't know. I mean, I do think that they should be educated. I totally believe that should be prioritized at least alongside that lesson.
It's interesting. Well, first of all, according to a CEO of Lighthouse Academy who deals with children's well-being, she says
Mhm.
we're witnessing a generational reset in parenting. They're not just raising children; they're intentionally nurturing them to be whole people.
Okay.
So everything is fine, which is great because we heard so many stories in the beginning, and I know we pick on the millennials a lot. I have
Yeah.
friends who are millennials, but we heard so many stories about my child's going in for their first job, and they took their mother with them. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
I don't know how to fill out these forms. Can you do it for me? I don't know how to
right.
you can't fail me because it's not right.
I
I
mean,
mean,
they
we
said
heard those
helicopter
stories.
parenting was a word for a reason. I mean it. So
Absolutely.
I understand, like, if you stand back and you look at the whole thing on a graph, which is how I look at everything,
Okay.
you have to see, you have a generation of people who just about went with nothing and had to survive, and so their kids, with a lot of them probably try to shield their kids from going through the same thing because, and
Hopefully
that's why you
that's
had all
right.
those basements full of products that when somebody died, their house had like a basement
Hmm.
full of stock stuff because they were worried. So then the next generation, I think they worry because they watched their parents or they were kids at that time, and so then they tried to make their life. Everybody's trying to make their life different than the generation behind them because they saw what their generation behind them did,
Well, we
right?
have a millennial who's confirming our generation messed up. So,
Right, and I mean, Gen X, we messed up probably because we were worried about neglect and we were worried about making sure our kids were okay because I don't have kids,
mhm,
but for my friends that did, they didn't want to do what their parents did because of how they turned out.
of
So then
course,
they it's like a pendulum swing.
overcorrected.
Anybody that
Yes.
knows me knows I'm all scientific. So it's a pendulum swing. So now we swing all the way over here to try and counterbalance this neglect of, oh, I'm sending my child to work when they're 8 years old and all that stuff that went on in the 20s and 30s. Now, hopefully, it's coming back here where too much parenting and too much overcorrection, you have kids that are completely helpless and don't know how to deal with anything. Um,
Well, take a look at
that's
the comment from Becky.
right.
We were tired of our parents being mean to us, so we went super soft on our kids, and that's
Yeah.
when you give out participation medals and and
Yeah.
helicopter parenting.
I mean, so like I said, I mean, I feel like we were born and raised in the pioneer days when I look back now, because I'm sure people think the same thing. Like we were all on Little House on the Prairie, but like that's kind of, I mean, we literally entertained ourselves. Our parents just didn't get involved with that, and
Yeah,
that's not really maybe good either. They should have gotten on the floor and
I
played with us when we
agree.
were kids. So I don't know. I just think that it's this thing where we're going through this wave of sometimes it's way too much parenting, sometimes it's not enough, and like we're trying to get to a straight line, and maybe that's part of the straight line. Maybe
I agree. And you use the pendulum. I always use the clock.
okay,
It's 6 o'clock,
yep,
and it's this way. Okay, instead of going to 6:15 and
hmm
make an adjustment, they go to 6:30. And
yeah.
then yeah, you have to go halfway back. You have to go,
And I
but
get it because we have to
as
adjust and
uh,
and we have to pivot and adjust. I mean, we do
yeah,
kind of. I wish that more people, nobody's going to care and everybody's going to be pissed off at me for saying this, but I
go
wish more
ahead.
people would really look at history and pay attention to stuff because overcorrection is not the answer either.
Yes, I agree.
So like let's look at, okay, I mean, to be honest with, we already know from the past how stuff worked. We kind of already know that stuff. Because you've
So
seen
moderation, make a small change, see if
like
that works.
pattern
If it doesn't
recognition
work,
and just looking at all of the information
yes,
from what you call oculism. This is my word, oculism. It means that your view of your circumstances are much too close up, and you need to zoom out and look at like the big picture,
oh, the
not just
fishbowl
you.
effect.
Yeah, like you just need to. What was
Yeah,
that effect? Say that
the
again.
fishbowl effect. The
Yeah,
fish sees only a limited amount, but the person looking at the fishbowl sees the entire story.
but outside of the fishbowl and the person, there's like a whole universe, right? So
There is.
there's
There's even another
like
view.
when my dog died, I was horrified about it. It was
Oh,
terrible for me. No, I'm just saying this is just an example, so there's no need to be sad. It was a while
I
ago.
know my dog's
But the
old, and
point
I'm
is,
just getting ready.
your attitude is, oh my god, blah blah blah. Why is this happening to me? When you zoom out, you're like, oh, it happens to everybody.
Yes.
And you don't want to zoom out so far that it doesn't mean anything to you, but you don't want to zoom in so much that you think you cornered the market on it. And so there's some kind of like middle ground that you got to find, right?
Yeah. And
Anyway,
before we move on to the next subject, I do want to
yes,
say to everybody who's raising a kid, whether you're a parent or not, assisting, everybody's just trying to do their best. There is no manual. Each kid is different, each parent is different, each situation is different.
right,
But do what you think. Monitor your kid. See if, this works better, that works better, and
right.
good luck, because it really is a tough job.
I That's why I never. That's why I didn't do it. This is just like, but I come from parental dysfunction. And so I was so
Uh,
worried about it that I just didn't have kids. I didn't want to pass it on because I was worried about would I become my mother once I had a child was too much of a fear for me to even do it. And
uh,
so I pruned the tree. You know what I mean?
no,
Uh,
I get it. I forgot who said it,
mhm.
and I hope I don't butcher the quote, but it's something along the lines of I would rather not have kids and wonder if I would have done well rather than having them and having it not go well.
Right.
It's, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. So not
Yeah.
everybody should have kids, and that seems to be the
That's
trend
absolutely the
anyway.
truth. That's another thing. I mean, we came from a
Yeah.
generation of people that would tell you were supposed to do that. And if you didn't, there was like a conversation about that.
Oh,
Like, how could you
absolutely.
not? Actually, I laugh because it's in Thelma and Louise. There's this line that Brad Pitt says, like, when somebody gives you something good, I think you should pass it on. That's an old wives' tale or an old thought that you used to get in mixed company when somebody found out you didn't have children. It would be like, what? How could you not want children? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, that was the attitude. So
It was a
I
lot.
don't.
I
Yeah.
meet people who don't have kids, and I go, "Do you want to have kids?" No. Okay, then you're
Yeah.
fine. As long as you have the lid to the pot, because what
Yeah.
happens then is when you have, I want kids. Well, I don't know. Then you get together, and then that person says, "No." Well, you should have had that conversation way before.
Obviously, that's to me, that's a huge deal breaker that you
It
have to have that
is.
conversation in the beginning, as much as it seems like it's just too serious.
Absolutely.
What's the
We've gone
point,
off
right?
the rails
Anyway,
again.
we gotta stop doing that. We gotta stop doing
I
that.
love
So
talking with you because it always goes a different
this is
direction.
why, and I'm gonna mention this now. We're gonna do you're gonna do a podcast with me.
I'm ready.
Okay,
Whenever you
we're
want,
gonna set it
I'm
up. And
ready.
Becky, I want you too. You're
There we
joining me,
go.
whether you're doing one with me or we're all doing one together. Okay. So am I on my on to my next story here?
Yes, retro
Okay.
things.
Okay. So it's going we're going back to the past, but this all ties in with our theme today. So this is about Gen Z,
Okay.
right? So if you look at TikTok or if you watch a lot of Gen Z videos, things like that, for them everything old is new again, which is kind of interesting. So there's 11 things here that that Gen Z seems to be trying to bring back. So I'm going to list them off. Here we go. You can agree,
Okay.
disagree, give me your opinion. Snail mail is one of them.
Don't need it.
Nope, they don't, but I guess they love it. Apparently they love it because they like sending letters. Why is it a sudden interest? They like the personal touch of things. So they like sending a letter and the experience. They find the experience of it reliable and authentic. There's an authentic, what's the word I'm looking for?
What?
Kink that Gen Zs are having, I guess, where they
Well,
want
let
things
me
to
ask
be
you a
genuine.
question.
Yes.
This is the only thing I can give this for snail mail. The
Okay.
only perk I can give it. If you and I are in a relationship
Mm-hmm.
and I have to go on a business trip, now
Mm-hmm.
obviously I can call and I can and probably would, or we can even stare at each other through our phones through
Right.
FaceTime, or I could send you an email. But if you received a handwritten letter from me
Mm-hmm.
expressing how much I love you and how much I miss you, how do
I,
you, would you react well to that, or
I'm
why did
probably
you
the
take
wrong
the
person
time?
to ask because I'm kind of I'm aromantic, so a lot of that stuff's cheesy to me. I guess
I've
I would
never even
probably
heard
accept
that
it.
expression.
Yeah, aromantic meaning all that schmaltzy stuff is not really my deal. But
Oh, you and I would not work well together.
but
I love
it's
that stuff.
but let me tell you what, if I mean, everybody has their own way of expressing and wanting communication.
Hmm.
So I also have done a lot of shadow work and a lot of work with myself, being that I come from where I do. I had to. So I
Right.
understand. I think a compromise can always be made between two people. So if that was how if that made them happy, then I would be happy to get it in that sense, knowing
I
that
have.
that would be something that make them happy to send, right?
It's
And that
always
could be
worked well
cool.
for me.
I mean, I have friends I have friends that are boomers.
Yeah.
And they like, I mean, we get together or we do anything. I get handwritten notes from them all the time and cards on holiday because that's what
Oh
they
wow.
do. They're still in that
Yeah. I don't
mindset.
get that. Yeah.
So like I said, if I go to somebody's they go to a funeral for somebody or wake for somebody's family, or if I go to uh somebody's kid's baby shower or something, I always
Right.
get a handwritten note thanking me for going and whatever. And I still get my birthday card from them, and I get a little thing where they write me, So I'm used to that too. So I probably wouldn't think it was that far off.
Okay.
So that's one generation off for me. So it's not so weird, I guess.
There you go.
But I guess Gen Z likes the personal touch thing. They're getting into the authentic, whatever,
Again,
what
it's
have you.
different for them.
I guess, and they've never had it, so like maybe they look back and they go, "Oh, that why can't we do that?" Maybe you don't like it because you haven't experienced it in a healthy and fulfilling way. That sounds so therapeutic,
It
Becky.
does. It was
No,
aromatic until I
I'll
felt sick.
explain to you. Becky and I will have a little conversation.
I
I'll
think
explain to
yeah,
you.
Becky and Elena need to have a
Yeah,
podcast about relationships. I think that
I
would
think
be
so
interesting.
too. But there's just all kinds of attachment style things and stuff that go on with my childhood and my
Like I
history
said,
that.
we're all different.
But anyway,
Okay, what's the next?
shopping malls. That Gen Z want
Yeah.
shopping malls back, right? So, I guess the fact that they can do things online and they can order things online, um, they are up. They understand the instant gratification of digital, but I guess they want or they crave the I want to go to a store and touch things and wear things and buy things. Somehow or other, they feel like that's missing and they would like to bring that back,
I don't think that is all of it. I think that's part of it.
right?
I really do think because, like we talk about all the time, being Gen X, you were outside, everything you did, but there was a point where you got your car, and I don't know about you, but there were packs of teenagers at the mall.
Yep,
So it was a big social component
it really
as
was.
well as I want to see, I need the tactile of touching, the clothes or
Yes,
hanging out at the music store. And God,
yes.
we sound so old, but it was
No,
awesome.
listen. So I mean, I always say this, and I've said this in several podcasts. Nobody can understand the structure of what we lived in which
Hmm.
you could not socialize without leaving your house. You had to go somewhere. And
Yep.
when you were a kid, it was so ingrained in you to socialize because it was like you had school every day, you had after school stuff, you had, I don't know, for whatever reason, you were constantly in a group of people. Usually it was kind of the same circle, or you
Right.
maybe had a couple of different ones that overlapped, but it was so much a part of your being to be out and in some place where other kids were, especially when you're younger. I don't know how it is for kids now. To be honest with you, I don't know. I know
I
they
can
can
tell you
socialize
my
by
my
not leaving the house, but
I can tell you my daughter who is in her 20s now, but when
Mhm.
she was a teenager and I would yell at her, why aren't you out with your friends?
Yeah.
And she would yell back, I'm with them right now. I'm
Mm.
like, what are you talking about? It's group chats and on Discord and
Yeah, it's gonna be
playing.
3D for us, right?
I'm like, oh my God.
I mean,
Don't you ever get together? I mean,
I know it's but now I'm hoping I kind of like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one for crowds and socialization. I like it under certain
yeah.
circumstances. But I think it's good for kids that are growing up and going through stages of life to have like a concrete in person in the same room, like
I
social
agree.
circle of friends. Because all kinds of stuff gets missed that I believe will, and we can go into another, and I'm not going to do it. But the social cues that you get from that, you won't get online. You're going to have
Yes.
social problems. Things that you have to deal with when you go to work and you work with people, or there's certain things that you kind of have to be able to at least mask your way through.
Yes.
If you can't, and without being in person with your friends, like you don't get that in the room social cue, inflections and micro expressions and all kinds of stuff that like you don't get, I think, all in type. So even in
For
videos, you don't get
any
that.
change going forward, there's always going to be a reaction,
Yep.
a negative reaction, which we don't realize that you're getting. So
Right.
you just have to weigh the pros and the
And
cons.
I'll be honest with you, if Gen Z brings back malls, I'd actually love that because I used to love
I
malls.
love them. I love them.
It's cool. Obviously, I would never spend when I was a kid. I spent tons of time in a mall, and I don't do it
Sure.
now. We do have them here. Anyway, another one is tracksuits. I
You
know.
can have
I
them.
know. So millennials had velour tracksuits. Becky, perhaps you had
Mhm.
some. I did
No.
not. I was Gen X. That wasn't my thing. But
No.
Juicy Couture was really big for the
Yes.
millennials. Uh, and so, right. So what, Becky? So one kid is content to be in her room. One's
Wow.
wants to be out and be social. That's introvert extrovert to me. That's all that
Yep.
is. Which is fine.
Always different.
Both are cool. Yep. So
But both of them want them all.
both of them like the mall. And for introvert and extrovert, the mall's actually good because it's got spaces for both. I think.
Yes.
So anyway, I guess Gen X Z, excuse me, is getting back into this tracksuit thing. And I guess Juicy Couture is trying to get back out there and produce products. So we'll see what happens with that.
Go for it.
And what did it say? Meanwhile, Paris Hilton's out there somewhere asking if they ever left, which probably for her they never did. Activism is another thing Gen Z's into.
Very much so. Yes.
And so it says, particularly 1960s, 1990s approach to how they view government. They want change. They want issues like climate change, equality, affordable health care. I mean, right now with what's going on with these kids, I can't see why they wouldn't because they're directly affected by this stuff. Some of them
Absolutely.
can't figure out how to get an apartment. Some of them are having a hard time getting jobs. I mean, so they would be the ones to be wanting that stuff to change, and I completely understand. Becky said she had tracksuits, never the below full set, blah blah. I missed the rest of that comment. It went bye
She
bye.
would wear pieces.
Yeah,
But in terms of activism, I
yeah.
also want to encourage if there are any young people watching,
Hmm.
don't just take your parents' view as gospel. Go out, investigate,
Right.
see what actually you believe is right and wrong. It may
Also,
be
can
the
I?
same
Yeah,
view,
I
may
agree.
not.
I agree with, and I also believe this. I know a lot of when I was a kid, I didn't do it because you don't want to do it as a kid. Your parents get into it, but they get into a really skewed view of it as they get older. Go and like deal with your local people, your congressmen, your
Yeah,
representatives with what's going on, right? Learn how to vote in your own community and really read. You know that stuff when you go into the voting booth and it's there and you're like, oh, I'll just like whatever. It's just that's the stuff you want to read because that's what changes what happens in your backyard. But that stuff escalates. So as you change things in your neighborhood in your community, that stuff rides up, right? And so it
absolutely.
gets a better whatever. There's a better mix of what all states are doing that actually affects the federal level at some point.
And
And
Becky,
read,
you're right.
yep.
Yeah.
What did Becky say? Because I was in the middle of a big, me.
It's, the people who are doing the work without the social recognition.
Yeah,
Like you're doing something good just to be part of the solution or try to make change rather
right,
than doing it to go. And I was at this
right,
march and I signed. I'm like,
right. You
I
don't want a
get it.
virtual. That's virtual signaling.
Yeah.
Virtue
Oh, I've never
signaling, I
heard
think.
that.
It's actually
term?
virtue signaling. It's not virtual. It's virtue. That's
Okay.
my fault. But it's because I need my coffee. Virtue signaling means I'm doing this thing. There's a lot of videos with the guy that's out that's like just talking to homeless people
Yeah.
and giving them money or whatever the case may be. And it's kind of like, okay, some people don't want to be filmed, and there's a bunch of stuff going
No.
on with these videos where you're like, I love people who want to donate to stuff and don't tell anybody about it.
I
Do it because
donate
you want to
anonymously
do
all
it.
the time. Yeah.
I mean, I have a couple friends who are out there feeding the homeless, and they do it like on a large scale, and to some degree,
Right.
they have to have people that sponsor them, so they've got to post stuff because they want people to donate and they want people to help. They need
Mhm.
volunteers, things like that. I get it, but if you're just like, oh, I helped somebody and look, here's me, I don't. It kind of cancels out the goodness of it, I guess. Yes, virtue signaling during COVID was big.
Yeah.
I mean, what else are they going to do? They were sitting in their house, right? But anyway,
It's
the next
true.
one is vintage digital cameras.
I have them.
And I laugh because when I see vintage digital camera, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not vintage. Vintage is like the Kodak Instamatic and the Polaroid.
I have those too.
Right. Like that to me, vintage is almost like, oh, let's use a flash bulb and a camera that you look down into like this. Like, I don't know. I feel like vintage is the wrong word for digital cameras because
yeah.
Right.
The first digital cameras, I believe, came out 25 years ago. So,
okay.
Not vintage yet.
And I guess for them, like I feel like for them, maybe that's how they see it, right?
Yeah.
So the Canon PowerShot, cameras like that that are discontinued are a hot commodity. So I guess people are looking at eBay and they're trying to find these cameras like in old bins and whatever that people have. And I guess they're selling for over $400 right now, which I didn't know. That's like a little bit. That's a lot. iPods is something they want back, and this is not iPhones.
I have them.
This is iPods. Kids are looking for iPods that somebody doesn't want anymore. They actually like the fact that an MP3 player or an MP4 player, as it were, is its own thing without anything having to do with iPhones and all that. They just want the actual. I have two of them. I think I have a Shuffle, and I have like one of those little. I can't remember. It was a smaller one, but yeah, they're looking for those specifically for whatever reason. What was that? The Nano.
The Nano.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I have one.
I have one.
So that for whatever reason, that's coming back around for them. Also, wired headphones. So they're saying they like them because they're usually cheaper than wireless. They don't require charging. They don't get lost as easily. This is stuff that they find to be a plus. And they make a statement that the wearer is anti-establishment. Right? AirPods.
Yeah.
Those are for old people. That's what they're saying.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know. Mine are downstairs, but yeah, I know. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I get it. It is hard to keep track of AirPods. They go missing and all that kind of stuff. So I get it. It is good to have wired headphones. Sometimes you just,
Yes.
I always have a backup pair somewhere in case you need them. Thrift store shopping and sustainability is happening, which I love. This is a big thing that I love.
That's been around. No, I'm sorry. That's been around for a long time. I have friends who do that all the time.
You do, but I don't.
For 20 years,
This is for Gen Z, though. I mean, you can't picture them wanting to do it. For whatever reason, they're finding
that's true. That's
to be a trend that they want to follow. Thrifty
but
is
saying life. It's back. Like, I don't think that ever left.
I know. That's true. I guess it never really left. Not for, but for our generation, there's a couple in between that didn't do it, I don't think, right? They still love their brand names, but for many, finding a new life for what's old isn't just a hobby. It's how they want to define their personal style and their values. And I always thought that was a better idea. I don't like this.
I agree.
I don't like fast fashion. I don't even want to get into it. I can't even believe that anything that goes on with that is just horrible for the environment and everything else. Record players are coming back around. That makes sense because vinyl is coming back around. As a DJ, I know that.
Now. Yes.
So for whatever reason, it wasn't hot for a while. It was completely not a thing, and suddenly in 2023, now it's coming back.
So I want it on vinyl and I want it on an iPod. Make up your mind.
Maybe they want both. Maybe they want to be able to play a record player at home, and then when they go out, I'm not really sure how they divvy that up, but that's
get yourself a Walkman.
cost as much as a concert did back in the day that the record came out, and it is absolutely the truth. With whatever's going on with live
Absolutely.
stream and
Freaking
Ticketmaster right now is
Mhm.
insanity. I won't even talk
Unbelievable.
about it. Wide leg jeans are coming back. Now I'm gonna say this. They do all the time. So you
Yeah.
could say wide leads. You could add that to the list as a, but it's always the trend. There's a whole thing with fashion, and so the narrow ones that are out, now they always put out another thing. They're looking to just move the product. So a lot of
Yeah.
times, trends are set for people so they don't stop shopping. And so I think wide
Absolutely.
legs are just probably back now because like they were the last 4 times because they weren't in recently, and so they're just. But it could be me. I don't know. And UGG boots, UGG boots aren't really Gen X.
They are.
So much. No, they're not. They're not Gen
Uh,
X. They're definitely not
no,
Steve
they were
Eagle.
Gen Millennial,
They
right?
were millennial.
Yeah.
But those are coming back. I guess. Just now, I guess
Oh,
they're starting
there's
to
your
take
pup.
off again. So there's for Becky if she's got any, maybe she can sell them to somebody and they'll buy them for a good price.
I save them
So.
for her kids. They'll be fine.
That's true. That's true. So though I think that's it. That's my list. There's 11.
Okay. Well, since we are a half hour
Yeah,
over because Lena and I like to talk,
I know.
I think we're going to cut the last list and I'll do it next time. So, Lena, why don't you give a plug for your podcast?
All right. So my podcast is Love and Life with Lena and Dave. Just go there. Love and Life with Lena and Dave. I can't talk today. LenaandDave.com is our website. Just LenaandDave.com. If you go there, you'll find everything else. Thank you.
And mine is the Circling the Drain podcast. It is the podcast about nothing, but it'll make you laugh. I promise. Go anywhere for. There we go. Yeah, he has the YouTube link for us at backslash at CTD podcast, or you can just type in Circling the Drain podcast and you'll see us. On behalf of Lena and myself, I want to thank you for hanging out with us. And if you didn't learn anything today, that's on you.
I know.
I'm telling you.
I
Gave you
think they
lots of
learned too much.
information. That's right. On Tuesday. Oh, they're going to be back Tuesday. It's going to be a threesome with Becky, Martin, and Tony. You're bound to learn something with them.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
great. They've got a lot of charisma, a lot of Riz. We'll go new
Riz.
school now. A lot of Riz on that. So remember, if you need some fun, join us because we've got it going on daily. Bye, folks.